On the morning of June 6, 1944, over 150,000 men woke up knowing they might not live to see the next sunrise. They were packed into boats, soaking wet, seasick, shaking not just from the cold, but from fear. The English Channel was rough. The sky was gray. And somewhere ahead of them, hidden behind concrete walls and machine gun nests, was one of the most fortified coastlines in human history. These men didn't know if the plan would work. Their commanders didn't know either. Even Eisenhower, the supreme Allied commander, had quietly written a letter the night before a letter taking full responsibility in case the whole operation failed. That morning, history held its breath. What happened on those beaches in Normandy, France, didn't just turn the tide of World War II. It cracked open the door to Hitler's defeat and changed the course of the entire world forever. Welcome back to Epoch Stories, where we bring history to life one story at a time. If you're new here, you've just found a channel that tells history the way it was meant to be told: raw, real, and unforgettable. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going deep into one of the most daring, most dangerous, and most important military operations ever attempted by human beings. We're talking about D-Day Operation Overlord, the day the Allies bet everything on a single, brutal roll of the dice. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just what happened on those beaches, but why it happened, how close it came to total disaster, and why June 6, 1944 truly marked the beginning of the end for Adolf Hitler. If you've been with Epoch Stories before, you already know what we do here. And if this is your first time, hit that subscribe button now, because you do not want to miss what's coming next. Let's go back. To understand why D-Day mattered so much, you have to understand what the world looked like before it happened. By 1944, Hitler's Germany had swallowed most of Europe whole. France had fallen. Poland was gone. The Soviet Union was bleeding on the Eastern Front. And Britain had been holding on by the skin of its teeth for years. The Nazi war machine had seemed unstoppable, rolling across borders, crushing armies, rewriting maps. But behind the scenes, something was shifting. Germany was stretched thin. Fighting on multiple fronts was draining her resources. And the Allied leaders Churchill, Roosevelt, Stalin knew that if they ever wanted to end this war, they couldn't just wait. They had to strike. Hard. And they had to strike in the West. The plan they came up with was massive. Almost unbelievably massive. Operation Overlord would involve 5 beach landing zones along the coast of Normandy. 5 code names that would become legendary: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. Nearly 7,000 ships, over 11,000 aircraft, and more than 150,000 soldiers from the United States, Britain, Canada, and other allied nations, all launching at once in the largest seaborne invasion in the history of warfare. But here's what most people don't talk about. The Germans knew an invasion was coming. They just didn't know exactly where. And that's where one of the greatest deceptions in military history comes in. The Allies ran a secret operation called Operation Bodyguard, a massive campaign of lies, fake radio signals, decoy armies, and double agents, all designed to make Hitler believe the real invasion would come at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. They even used General George Patton, one of America's most feared commanders, as a decoy, placing him in command of a fake army group to make the deception more convincing. Hitler believed it, and that belief would cost him everything. The night before the landings, something remarkable happened above the clouds. Thousands of American and British paratroopers jumped out of planes in complete darkness, dropping behind enemy lines hours before the beach assault even began. Their mission was to secure key roads and bridges, cut off German reinforcements, and create chaos deep in enemy territory. But the drop zones were scattered by wind and anti-aircraft fire. Men landed miles from where they were supposed to. Some landed in flooded fields and drowned under the weight of their equipment. Some landed in the middle of German camps. And yet, somehow, in all that chaos, they held. Small groups of paratroopers fought through the night, improvising, surviving, buying time for the men who were about to hit the beaches. Because at dawn, the real storm was coming. At 6:30 in the morning, the ramps dropped. And on 5 beaches across Normandy, thousands of young men stepped out into the unknown. Some beaches went better than expected. At Utah, American forces faced lighter resistance and managed to push inland with fewer casualties than feared. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, British and Canadian troops fought hard but made progress, overcoming beach obstacles, and pushing through heavily defended positions. But Omaha Beach. Omaha was different. Omaha was a nightmare. The men assigned to Omaha faced a perfect storm of disaster. The aerial bombardment that was supposed to destroy the German defenses had missed almost entirely. The tanks that were supposed to support the infantry sank in the rough sea before they even reached the shore. And the Germans defending Omaha were some of their most experienced soldiers, dug into bluffs overlooking the beach with clear lines of fire. When the ramps dropped at Omaha, men walked directly into machine gun fire. They were cut down in the water, on the sand, at the base of the cliffs. Within minutes, the beach was chaos. Officers were dead. Units were scattered. Men were pinned down with nowhere to go and no clear orders. For a moment, it genuinely looked like Omaha might fail. And this is the part of the story that doesn't get told enough. In the middle of that chaos, with bodies in the water and men frozen in terror, small groups of soldiers, sergeants, junior officers, ordinary men who had never been in combat before started to move. Not because they were ordered to, but because someone had to. One group found a gap in the barbed wire. Another climbed the cliffs with grappling hooks while under fire. Another silenced a machine gun nest that had been pinning down hundreds of men. Slowly, painfully, impossibly they moved forward. By the end of that day, all 5 beaches were in Allied hands. The cost was enormous. Thousands of men had been killed or wounded in a single day. But the foothold had been established. And once the Allies were in Normandy, there was no pushing them back. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second. If this story is hitting different for you, if you're feeling the weight of what these men went through, then this channel is exactly where you belong. Hit the like button right now, drop a comment below telling me which part of this story struck you the most, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We tell history like this every single week, and you don't want to miss the next one. Now, back to Hitler. When the invasion began, something almost unbelievable happened on the German side. Hitler was asleep. His generals knew about the landings within hours. But nobody wanted to wake the Führer. And the Panzer tank divisions that could have counterattacked and potentially pushed the Allies back into the sea were under Hitler's personal command, meaning no general could move them without his direct order. By the time Hitler woke up, assessed the situation, and finally released the Panzers, it was already too late. The Allied forces had pushed far enough inland that the window for a decisive counterattack had closed. That single decision, or rather, that single failure to act may have decided the entire war. In the weeks that followed D-Day, the Allies poured men and supplies into Normandy. They broke out of the beachhead, swept across France, and liberated Paris by August. The German army, already exhausted from fighting the Soviets in the east, was now being crushed from both sides. Hitler's empire, which had once stretched from the Atlantic coast to the gates of Moscow, began to collapse inward on itself. Less than a year after those men hit the beaches of Normandy, Adolf Hitler was dead in a bunker beneath Berlin. Germany surrendered. The war in Europe was over. But here's what I want you to sit with as this video ends. D-Day was not won by generals sitting safely behind maps. It was won by young men, most of them barely out of their teenage years, who stepped off a ramp into freezing water under enemy fire and kept moving forward anyway. Men who had every reason to freeze, every reason to hide, but didn't. They didn't save Europe because they weren't afraid. They saved it because they moved forward in spite of the fear. And that is something worth remembering. The beaches of Normandy still exist today. And if you walk them now, they are quiet, peaceful, beautiful even. But beneath that peace is a debt so enormous it can never fully be repaid. June 6, 1944. The day the world pushed back. If this video moved you, if it taught you something you didn't know before, please like it, share it with someone who loves history, and subscribe to Epoch Stories so you never miss a story like this one. Every week, we go deep into the moments that shaped our world, and there are so many more stories waiting for you here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.